The following is rated F for fairness. Viewers' discretion is advised.
Welcome to the audio show.
All right, y'all, what's up? Good evening. Okay, so because I know this is going to become very, very complicated, I wanted to pinpoint some things on the channel for those who wanted any education on this at all. Myself, I'm trying to learn as I go through. I'm not a lawyer. Let me preface this by saying I am not a lawyer. I'm just trying to use information to try to understand it. Okay, first thing we need to find out is a list pendens, because that's going to be important. List pendens, I'm sorry. So a list pendens, right, which is a Latin word meaning suit pending. In real estate and law, it is a public notice filed in the county records to warn everyone that a piece of property is a part of an active court case. Just remember that. So in other words, when you see the word list pendens, it means there is a suit filed against a court case. In other words, let's just say, for example, this particular house that Dave owns, we could look at it as possibly being underneath this. If Anthony's lawyer files one of this, it would mean that there's a suit against the house. All right. So people were asking questions about the refinancing, and I tried to do like a little, something, right, to try to understand this idea of this law. So assuming the house and the divorce are in Georgia, I would not refinance or cash out without first having a Georgia family attorney review the divorce case and the deed or the title situation. This is why O'Neill keeps saying over and over again, I am not sure about some of the answers to this because I don't know the information that is basically on there. So when people just readily just says, no, it should be fine, it's just a gift, so everything cool, I'm like, how do you know it's a gift? I don't know those things. So I put it as though I was the one, in Dave's position, and I had a girlfriend, she married, I did all of that kind of thing, right? So if you bought the house, in your own name, but intentionally putting your girlfriend on the deed, you potentially gave her a present interest in the property. So the bigger problem, her divorce is already pending. Georgia has specific statutes addressing property transfers after the divorce petition is filed. So some very important things I saw. Provide that after the divorce petition has been filed, a transfer generally cannot be used to defeat property rights that ultimately vest under the divorce judgment. So it's just kind of showing a certain little piece of the puzzle. Then it kind of showed you, okay, so look at this here, so look at this. And Georgia Supreme Court has emphasized that transfers involving marital property during divorce litigation can become the subject of a fraudulent transfer dispute. Gibson versus Gibson, it even gives the law that could give you particularly that, right? So you cannot simply refinance without her. We already know that. So in other words, you definitely going to have Amber to sign on this. Somebody was saying you could do a quit and claim deed, right? So this is the part I would particularly be careful about. Suppose you say you are on my house, quit and claim your interest so I can refinance it. In other words, just give up your rights so that I can refinance it. She signs it. Later, her husband discovers the transaction and argues, my wife's ownership interest in the property was a marital asset and she transferred it away during our divorce to deprive me of the marital asset. So it shows you that. So in other words, it's saying be very, very careful with that part of the transaction. This is why O'Neill is saying I'm not so quick to say yes, everything is perfectly fine. Today, I think Candice talked about the alimony issue. There's another issue that shouldn't be overlooked. If your girlfriend's divorce in Georgia, her relationship with you could potentially become relevant to her divorce or alimony litigation depending on the circumstances. You see that? Georgia law provides that the party can be denied alimony when the statutory requirements concerning adultery or desertion are established. Do you see that? And then it shows the law that address that. The fact that she filed for divorce before you started dating is important and potentially hopefully file for divorce, but it doesn't mean every consequence of the relationship disappears. Her attorney should be handling that issue separately. So it showed us kind of some of the pieces, the safest way to approach this. It gave it the safest way for him to approach it, which is him as in Dave. Safest way. 1, don't change the deed yet. Don't have her sign a quit and claim deed. Don't transfer the property to an LLC, and don't move the property around simply to facilitate the refinance. Stage 2, have 2 attorneys look at it. You need 1, a Georgia real estate attorney, title attorney, to determine exactly what your girlfriend's deed interest means and what the lender will require. This is why O'Neal was saying he does not know what's on that deed. That's why O'Neal was saying what he was saying. And two, your girlfriend's divorce attorney to determine whether her interest in the property is being disclosed or claimed in the divorce and whether transferring, releasing that interest would violate any temporary order. That's another thing. Because Amber's name is now on this particular deed, what I'm learning is she could fall under the standing order that, remember, Constance was talking about a standing order, and there's a standing order that they could move things around. She could fall underneath that. Everything matters. Somebody was saying, well, remember, is that it's her divorcing him. It doesn't matter. Once the divorce happens and you do the standing order, it might freeze all of the assets. That's what O'Neal was talking about. So look at these things. Check the divorce case for standing or temporary orders. That's what I said. This is particularly important. Georgia divorce cases can involve temporary orders restricting dissipation or transfer of assets. In Gibson, the Supreme Court discussed a standing trial court order prohibiting dissipation of marital assets except in the ordinary course of business. Do you see that? So before you do anything, find out, has the divorce has the divorce court entered a standing order, temporary restraining order, injunction, or other order restricting the transfer or the encumbrance of the property? That's why I was saying Dave could get tied up. Because if there's a standing order and Amber is now on that deed as an owner of the property, there becomes problems for wherever he's going to refinance it. So for those who were saying that there were no issues at all, we were trying to tell you there are issues. Do you see the risk then, friends? All right, so let's read the bottom line. Let's just get down to the bottom line, because that's all really and truly want to know. It's a little complicated, I know, because it is complicated, and it does require a lawyer. Again, I'm not a lawyer, but just I give you where you could have the issues. Yes, a refinance where you are the only borrower may be possible, but I would not proceed by simply removing your girlfriend from the deed or taking cash out while her divorce is pending. The cleanest scenario is generally, here you go, you prove you supplied 100% of the purchase money. Her divorce attorney confirms the purchase is not being treated as her marital asset. Her attorney confirms there is no order preventing the transaction. Your real estate attorney structures the title or transfer or refinance. The lender approves you as the sole owner. The title company closes the transaction. If the house is in Georgia, I would pay particular attention to this particular law, the divorce court's temporary or standing orders, the exact language of your girlfriend's deed, and the source of funds evidence. Georgia cases make clear that courts respect property titles, but fraudulent transfers and transactions affecting marital assets can be scrutinized. There you go, friends. So in other words, be very, very mindful, and that's why O'Neal was a bit cautious as to where we were going with everything in itself. However, Amber has called Anthony, and so we're going to get into that. Let's jump into it. Let's go.
I'm good. What's going on?
Yeah, I was calling to see if it was okay if I could come by tomorrow and grab the rest of my things.
Yeah, that's cool.
Great. I've got some stuff in Kai's room, so I don't want to disturb anything. I want to be respectful and call you. I don't want you, let my man know that I just popped up over there. So I just wanted to give you a call first and be respectful of what you got going on.
All right, so Amber is now respectful of what's going on. Now we know why she's respectful, because of course, she has a new house now, so of course respect is there, because she don't really care anymore because she have a big house. Things has gotten bigger and better for the Amber character, so she don't need this little tiny house that Anthony have right now.
Well, Kyle be at school, and I didn't just pop up over at your man's house to tell on you. popped up because I felt disrespected.
No, Anthony, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. I don't want to argue with you about that. I just, again, I have quite a few clothes left over there, and I'd like to just get whatever I can fit in my car, and that way you don't have to worry about me going back and forth. But also, if you have a second tomorrow, I do want to talk to you about something.
Interesting. So she's gonna fit every single solitary clothes she have left in the car tomorrow because she's out of there, right? So she had to take out everything, the whatnot, the dresser, the bed, the TV, everything. She's basically taking what she can take. And you know what? Listen, again, let's see how this plays out because it's going to be quite interesting as to where they go with the actual skits in itself. I'm very, very keen to see where this goes, like how much further they take it. Does the divorce become a big thing? Does the divorce be a small thing? Do they really just move on into two separate households or what? That's my concern of everything, to be honest.
Talk to me about what?
I'd rather just talk to you in person, if that's okay. I just need a few minutes of your time, that's all.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool.
Okay, great. Well, I will text you when I'm on my way, and I'll make sure I'm there before Kai gets out of school. If maybe you could grab some of that stuff out of the closet, that would be great. Make it a little bit smoother and faster. And we can kind of go from there.
Interesting. So I'm noticing something. I could be wrong, but it looks like she's taking a mighty long time to get out. Usually Amber wants to get out of there, but no, she's taking a little while to get out of there. Don't know what it is. I don't know what it is, and I could be wrong, but she's taking a little time to get out of the phone. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm incorrect.
Yeah, I got you.
Okay. Cool. Well, you have a good night then.
You too, Amber.
Bye, Anthony.
Bye, Amber.
All right. So what we're seeing in this scene is, again, I don't know what that is at the end of the scene. Maybe it's nothing. Maybe it's just a residue of everything else in itself. Here's what I'll say. I hope, though, it's not what I think it is, which is a little bit of the love powder lingering. Because when love powder lingers, the opportunity for having intercourse is very great. Y'all have been in real life and you know how that play out, right? Let's just hope that with the lingering of everything that has occurred there, they don't have any relations at all, because if they do, then Dave's house become a live wire to be taken and to be eaten up. So you already seen exactly what I say already with the refinance, and I showed y'all how much that could basically fall under into things. Some people say only it's just a gift. I say, well, gift schmift, unless you really know everything about the deed that's on, or you know all of the details, you don't really know anything. That's basically what I'm claiming at this point in time. And I'm not saying you're not a lawyer and you may be a lawyer out there. I'm just saying, you know what, I don't know enough. I don't know enough to give a conclusion on this, but what I can tell you is that Dave's moves was very, very risky, because now, let's see now, do the Daltons now just separate, or do they stay together? That's the question. That's the question. Do they move into them separate lives? I love what Denisha did today when she asked him the questions about him still loving Amber, because she's being realistic. I noticed nobody not give her no credit for that, because according to them, she's a scammer, even though she's asking for that, which makes no sense. And by the way, I do see people talking about Dave being a scammer. I have no evidence of that, and until then, I cannot call him a scammer. But give me a take, friends. Like, share, comment, subscribe. Talk to y'all soon.